Hey everyone, and welcome back to my Completionist playthrough of the Baldur's Gate Saga with SCS. And just as a little recap of what happened to us recently, we got betrayed and fell into the clutches of Irenicus, got at least some part of our soul stolen, lost our powers, we're now slowly dying, and have to fight our way out of this maze without any equipment. So, not a good day. But on the bright side, we are finally reunited with Imoen and have our party completed for Shadows of Amn. And speaking of Imoen, I have fixed all of her attributes, experience levels, and everything, so now she is properly a mage level 13. She's still going to be lagging behind in experience, but it's not going to be that big of a deal. She has her proper skills, saving throws, proficiency points, and she always has short sword, dagger, quarterstaff, short bow, and dart. And basically for mage level 12, I put that proficiency point into crossbow for some future use. And I've also set her colors and gave her the mage look. And the only thing we need to do now is just remove her script and adjust her position in our party. And also another thing I wanted to talk about is that due to the editing, I used the save editor and to edit all these things to fix her and give her the proper attributes and everything. Basically, as a kind of a side effect of that, our spell selections for our casters are exactly the same, but the spells are basically sorted according to their spell ID in the game files. So this is just something to show that I didn't change any of our guys' spells. They just appear in a different order here. But actually, I'm showing this on Edwin because this is going to be kind of useful. It's going to fulfill an informative role for us a little bit when it comes to Edwin's project images. And this is actually a good time to talk about Edwin's project images. Because they are quite special. They're actually weaker than Edwin himself, and this is kind of nice that at least this is something that makes Edwin a little less powerful, because his projected images are not going to have the benefits of his amulet that gives him 2 spell slots per level, because this is an undroppable item, and the properties of undroppable items don't transfer to the projected images. So that means that his project image is going to lose basically 2 spell slots for every level, and the spells that the images lose are determined by their spell ID. So here we can know in advance that when it comes to level 5, for example, level 5 and 3 are basically going to be the worst, and I'm going to try to mitigate this side effect a little bit. I'm going to talk about it in a second. But here we basically see that his projected image, if it's summoned right now, would have 2 breaches, 2 chaos, and 1 cloud kill. Basically it would lose 1 other cloud kill and spell immunity. So basically what I'm going to try to do, I think, is on Edwin, I'm normally going to preserve his spells so that his projected images, which we're going to start using now, are going to have as full of his spell library as possible. But when it comes to level 5 and level 3, I am going to use some of these spells with a lower spell ID, I guess, so like Breach and Chaos here, so that his projected images can have double Cloud Kill and have that spell immunity. And at level 3, like for example, we don't need any additional hastes on our projected images. We're not going to be using haste all that much to to fatigue ourselves so much. But it would be nice to have, a free, slow, and free cast of spell thrust on a projected image. So I think I'm going to use 1 haste pretty early, and maybe 1 remove magic, because it would be also nice to have a free protection from fire on a projected image. But yeah, that's basically it. And also one more thing, we can level up Imoen. He's going to be level 18, and we're going to set his spells before resting, and I'm probably going to set the spells in the order that we had them in. Not that it matters at all, but it's just I guess doesn't really matter, but I kind of like them in my previous order. I like them to appear like I set them to be, but anyway. Yes. Now let's get to the gameplay first. Finally, so we are now in this Asylum's dungeon, or the Spellhold maze, as it's sometimes called, and we don't have any of our equipment. So first we're going to start out by doing some things that don't require us to do any combat. And for that purpose, we're going to solve some puzzles and answer some riddles. So here in this room we have this chest with a lot of different items and a note from the warden. Heed this, inmate. The true test of madness is the simple measurement of the mind's precision. The cured shall be rewarded, the afflicted shall wander without recourse. Alright, so basically each statue here has a description and a little container that we need to basically put an item that matches the description. So here, at night I come without being fetched, at day I'm gone without being stolen. We need to put the star medallion in there. I'm not going to read like all of this in like super detail. Of course, as always, feel free to pause and read all of these descriptions. They are pretty cool. In general, when it comes to Baldur's Gate, puzzles and riddles are generally very well written. So anyway, no beginning, no end. Here we have to use this golden circlet to symbolize, I guess, the never-ending cycle. Alright, the two brothers. This description refers to the boots. Next one, yeah, we can swallow some water, but if it was a bigger container of water, I guess it could swallow us. Alright, so here we place the sundial and witness the passage of time from times ancient, I guess. Alright, here we place the sun medallion. That symbolizes, you know, something that people in a dungeon would like to see, I guess, but people, you know, under its gaze can actually suffer quite a bit. Alright, so settle disputes but not with words. That's the sword medallion's place. Here we place the gagged man. And this one, yeah, always tell the truth but not speaking. That's the mirror. Here we place the hourglass. And finally, in the last one, the skull. So now we get 20,000 experience, and we get some rewards here. So first off, I think Edwin should be able to, yeah, identify it. Another Ion Stone. This one gives us just a +1 armor class. Senashira is going to equip that for now to make her immune to critical hits and just improve her armor class slightly. And here we have a special gem, Sapphire Stone, one of the 3 special gems that we can get on this level. And it's basically used to like throw it in a certain magical portal. And we could already go to that portal right now and use this Sapphire Stone to get a suit of armor. But I find it a little bit more satisfying when we have all 3 of these special gems and we have to do some fights first and then kind of get rewarded, I guess, with that suit of armor. So we're going to save that on Imoen for now. And now we're going to answer some riddles. And there's going to be 12 of them here. So I'm going to try to go through it fairly quickly. Although I really do like these riddles, how they are written. Alright, so this tells us about the shadows. Yeah, Bane of the Mariner, that's ice. Spirited jig, it dances bright, banishing all but darkest night. Give it food and it will live, give it water and it will die. And that's fire. I really like these descriptions, but of course I don't want to take too much time on these riddles. We want to get to the action, of course. And there's going to be plenty of action from now on. Anyway, here we have a coffin. This one is about a candle. Here, this is darkness. Here we have the stars being the sailor's guide, and 5 more. Here we have a hole. And well, I don't find secrets particularly hard to guard, but that's the correct answer. Was it this one? Is it like 3 or 2 more? 2 more, I think. So here we have the breath, and I think this is going to be the last one. Unless I like skipped some of these faces. Sponge. Yeah, you have answered true the 12 in stone. Rewarded are you for the wit of ages. We get some experience, and we get a ring of regeneration. Can you identify that, Edwin? Yep, so we have another one of these. And this is going to be actually pretty useful here, just to offset some of the damage that we're going to take. Because, of course, we have to remember we have 0 healing potions right now. And so we're going to try and just not take damage as much as possible. We're going to try to limit the incoming damage. We have some slight heals on Jaheira and 1 big heal, 1 full heal, but you know, and also the nymphs have the AoE heal, but you know, there's going to be plenty of fights that are ahead of us. So anyway, now we're going to have some light fights, and for this, actually, let's also when it comes to Imoen's spell selection, I left it as she always has, so the memorized spells she has are kind of all over the place. This is by far not the optimal selection, but she does have 1 enchanted weapon, and we actually have plenty. Especially since I think Edwin's projected images are going to have more enchanted weapons. And this is actually a pretty cool spell. It summons a +3 weapon for 1 day, so this is going to be extremely useful for us. And it can take the form of a mace, axe, longsword, or short sword. So unfortunately the types of weapons are not that useful for us. But we are going to get 1 short sword for Senashira, and 1 mace for Imoen, at least. Maybe even 2 short swords for Senashira. So I can use this. Yeah, this is the short sword. So Senashira is going to have a little weapon. Now this is just a regular short sword +3. And we made a short sword because of course she has, you know, some proficiency points in short swords. Unfortunately we cannot create a warhammer. And before we create a mace for Imoen, let's actually have him use this spiritual hammer. It looks kind of cool, and it actually has a unique sound when it deals damage, and unique animation. So this is actually pretty cool. And Jaheira can summon a flame sword. She has 3 uses of that. We're going to have to save 1 for a little bit later, but anyway. Also, did I loot? I didn't loot this one, right? Yeah, here's a heavy crossbow, which is too heavy for Imoen, unfortunately. It requires 12 strength, but maybe when she is under the effect of a strength spell, we can give... she can use that a little bit, but we're going to get a short bow for her soon anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. And actually, speaking of strength spells, we definitely want 1 strength spell on Jaheira. And those spells last for a pretty long time, and we have 2 more uses on Edwin. So yeah, now Jaheira's strength is passable. And this fight is very easy here. There are just some goblins, or sometimes there are gibberlings and mutated gibberlings, depending what spawns for us. Here we got the goblins. Did you see that beautiful spiritual hammer animation? I don't really know why that spell in particular has that kind of nice look, but because it deals like magic damage, and like barely any weapons deal magic damage. So here we have another short sword for Senashira's offhand. We have a short bow and some arrows. And normally we would have to go actually to the second area, where there are 2 passages out of this map. One is here and one is over there. And basically I thought I would have to go, because here usually gibberlings spawn and they don't give you anything useful. And you have to get your short bow from some kobolds in the other area, but, well, we already got some stuff, so Imoen can add a little bit of damage. Here we have another one of these special gems, a ruby stone this time. Have some bullets, and this is a spear +3. I guess let's get a little bit more of those. Here we have a composite longbow that we have no use for, and we have a lot of, well, maybe not that many, but we have some thrown daggers for Kirinai. So now we have some tools to work with. Okay, we can identify that. We can give that to Jaheira later, that spear. These bullets, I guess we're going to give to Jaheira just to carry them for now. We want these thrown daggers on Kiranai. These arrows +1 Imoen can have, and you can use this short sword in your offhand. And yeah, we have these 2 special gems now.
What is it?
There's 1 more needed, and this is kind of important, the order we do things in, because there are some tough encounters here that I want to leave for a little bit later. But I think, yeah, we're going to go to the next area for just a second, and we're going to battle those kobolds and some minor creatures in the next area before we return here, and then we're going to summon some stuff and do some tougher battles. Here there's a summoning book. We're going to use that a little bit later,
Speed will be done.
once we have some pre-buffs rolling and stuff like that. Right, here I think, well, we're going to probably like get some of these creatures to follow us. Come on, guys.
Yes.
Into this like narrow passage. Edwin can stay out. And actually, his projected image is going to be able to buff us up with some spirit armors, but this is going to have to come a little bit later. For this fight, we're going to have to go with no armor boosts. Just kind of... Is your flame sword already expired? Yep.
With vengeance. Yes. Something up? Retreat or fall before me.
Alright, so kind of using this choke point so that they cannot just shoot us from all sides. There are quite a few of kobold archers there. I think we have to like go in now. Yeah, but there's quite a few of them over there. And I kind of wanted to save it a little bit later, but I think we are going to use a lightning bolt here on Imoen, and hopefully she does not get interrupted. Alright, cool. Because she has only 1 mirror images, and I want to save those mirror images for a little bit later and get out of there, Imoen. Alright, I guess Imoen can get this ring of regen already.
Yes.
Okay, these imps need magical weapons, but not the kobolds.
Name. Yes. What is it?
Alright, cool.
Must be done. Be it whatever you want. Speak. Yes.
Yeah, although they're not doing too much damage, well, it's still something. They are chipping away at our health, these creatures here. Alright, so normally here you would get your short bow. You can get some arrows of fire. You can get a short sword for Imoen, I guess, for her melee needs.
Yes. What is it?
Anything else here? A little bit more of these arrows. Alright, and here there's going to be a little bit more notable encounter. Let's just heal up a little bit. Right, and here I think we're going to approach without casting much, but before activating a certain encounter a little bit later, we are going to, I think, use the mirror images on Imoen. We'll see. Now Edwin can stay out. I want to preserve his spells. Right, so here is a magical stone here that I'm not going to click for now. Let's just kind of get rid of these guys. Alright, let's buff up Imoen now with mirror images. Okay, there's a short sword +1. Alright, so here they come. There's a crystal. That's, you know, the focus of the kobold's worship. And we basically have just now interrupted kind of their ritual, I guess. Well, and now it seems Imoen is out of a weapon. This is a little bit problematic. Because I can create a mace for him, but it's not going to be. Well, I think it should be in time. Anyway, the altar here. Come to me, Kurtulmak. Find focus in the crystal. Feast from here. Feast on your bones. So yeah, we discovered no time. Avatar not focused. Crystal not ready. Avatar not formed. Kurtulmak not ready. Yeah, protect me. This is some kind of an avatar of an object of worship of theirs, but apparently we interrupted it before it could form. Call forth the guardians. Alright, so a couple of more notable kobolds here are going to spawn, like some shamans. There's going to be a mage, I think. So anyway, Edwin. Create this mace. And we are going to throw a fireball, I think, from Imoen and kind of spread out.
Yes, without doubt. I thought as much.
And you know, thinking about the upcoming encounters, I think our insect plague on... Well, I could throw it right here, but it's kind of a waste. Although the chances are slim that insect plague is going to be like that effective later on, I think I'm going to still save it. Right, so here we have some kobolds. Yeah, the witch doctor, I think, is kind of their mage.
What is it?
Right, in the meantime,
What do you want?
let's start attacking. Let's throw that fireball from Imoen.
I'm waiting. I am ready.
What is it now?
Let's wait for that mace.
Monkey work.
Alright, now we can pass that mace to Imoen, so he can have something nice to use. Yeah, although it says Kobold, this is a Svart. Or at least uses the looks of a Svart. Right, now we kind of want to focus on their spellcasters. Alright, cool.
Nature, take the life she gave! I shall go forth for honor and glory!
And fine, just stop pestering me.
Yes, quickly and precisely. Time to move.
For the order!
Right, it says, it ends, all is lost. With the Kobold avatar slain, you are easily able to take a piece of the crystal. All is silent except for a faint, mournful wail, barely discernible.
What if without
So here we get two notable items. First, this Kurtulmak's crystal shard, which is needed to progress to a later part of this dungeon here. And also, we get this wooden stake that we're going to need to permanently kill a vampire, and we also get a club for Jaheira.
speak? Yes.
So when she doesn't need a magical weapon, she's actually, I think, going to be using the club, and she's going to be able to have much better results with it. And here there's a passage. Sometimes one of the creatures here might escape, but it serves no other purpose. Alright, now that we have this done, we're going to go back to the previous area, and now we're going to actually cast some spells, cast some buffs, and we're going to start clearing the previous room before we return here and spend some time on this map.
If it must be done.
Right, we can swap this ring of regen to Jaheira. And yeah, we have to do this room first. We are going to summon an aerial servant here.
Yes.
And Senashira is going to get this mace for now, if she needs to use it. We'll see.
It will be done.
So we have summoned this aerial servant. This is a pretty good summon, but the notable thing when it comes to this room here is that there's a clay golem in there, and clay golems need blunt weapons to be hit, and the aerial servant deals crushing damage. And also we want to kind of use a summon for that, because the clay golems apply an SCS, that curse that prevents healing, and I don't want any of my normal party members to get hit by that. So we might use protection from magical weapons on Senashira, not to get hit. Yeah, there he is. But if the aerial servant can just do the whole fight for us, then it's all the better. Yeah, so the curse was applied to him. But the aerial servant hits like a truck, so not a big deal. And he's going to stay here to aid us in another encounter. We can actually already move him. Kind of the downside to aerial servant, which I like, is that it moves so slowly, and it only has, I think, 1 attack per round. So that's also one of the reasons I didn't install the component from aTweaks called the PNP Elementals that I mentioned like way back. That's because the PNP Elementals component makes, improves elementals. Not that much, but some of them are improved to extents that I don't like, because it also includes our own summons. So for example, the aerial servant, as every air elemental in that component, gets a big speed boost, which of course it makes sense that air elementals are, fast. But that's kind of, his downside, that he's so slow. But with that component installed, he can zoom around like as if he had boots of speed equipped.
Of course. What if certain
And even though I don't rely on summons too much, I still don't like my own summons to be buffed like that. Right, we're going to get some ammo from here. We have some good arrows, some good bolts. And we have the third of these special stones.
if that's what you want. Speed without doubt.
Alright, and here we have a bag of holding. So if it wasn't for in the enhanced edition and having that Hexats
Yes, quickly and precisely.
bag that she gives us, this would be the first time where we get a bag of holding. So you would have to wait quite a long time for it, at least if you want to do, all that we have done in chapter 3. If you don't rush this place, basically. And I gave our short sword +3 to someone else. Alright, all of this ammo can be held by Imoen. She can hold on to things that don't weigh.
Sorry, but I couldn't hold that last item.
Don't weigh anything. We can put these quest items, I guess, into our bag of holding. And this one is going to be identified by Edwin.
What is it?
Alright, so now is the time to do the portal fights. They are over here, and we're going to pre-buff a little bit, because we are going to have to fight a type of Rakshasa, the Rook, which basically has primarily, I think, lower level damaging spells. And he has some methods accompanying him, and then the two fights from the portal are a greater werewolf, which actually you might have a little bit of a problem with. Well, I think if our aerial servant survives, we probably will not have much problems. But the thing with the greater werewolves is that they require a highly enchanted weapon, a +3 weapon, to even be hit. And of course they have this really, really good regeneration. So with our current state, without any equipment, actually delivering enough damage to DPS a greater werewolf down is not going to be that easy. And also the second fight is against a pit fiend. So fighting a pit fiend without any equipment, not that great of an idea, I guess, but we're still going to pre-buff a little bit. So we're going to need Remove Fear for that. And I just need to think about some low-level buffs that we want to apply, because I'm going to use a Limited Wish on Senashira in a second. So I guess we might just use a chant.
Servant awaits.
This Iron Skins is not going to be used just yet. I think we're going to use Jaheira's Protection from Fire on Senashira. And maybe on you, Jaheira. Use that on yourself. This one, I think, lasts for a while, right? Well, not that long, but we're going to need some fire protection against that pit fiend. And the next thing that we're going to do, oh yeah, we want to use Edwin's spells. So from level 3 we wanted to use a haste and possibly a remove magic. And yeah, this is the long-lasting protection from fire, the mage version. It's 1 turn per level, so we want to get some for free, basically, from the projected image that we're going to summon soon. And then at level 5, alright, Breach and Chaos we're not going to use in this fight. So we're just going to preserve Edwin's spells, but we are going to haste ourselves here. Alright, and cast that limited wish then. Alright, so we want a repeatable wish to make our party invulnerable. So everyone now has a minor globe of invulnerability active, and that's going to make us basically immune to all of these guys' arsenal of spells, which, you know, it's going to make us nicely immune to all of these spells that would just chip away at our health. And also this Rook guy, like I said, he has mostly low-level damage spells, and also I think he might have one of these minor sequencers with Web and Stinking Cloud, so we are immune to the effects of that. Actually, you know what, Edwin, you can stay out of there. Right, we interrupted his spells and we destroyed him. So that's cool. I want to get rid of these guys pretty quickly so that we can do more than this fight on our buffs here. I want to do all of the fights with our buffs active. Alright, the first one, I think when we have all 3 of these gems, the first one is going to be the werewolf. Yeah, as the description says here. Something steps out. Yeah, here we have the greater wolfware. So we're going to need Senashira, and Jaheira has that spear +3, and Imoen has the mace. We just need to position ourselves correctly here. And I think I'm going to buff up with 1 mirror images. Alright. Actually that was really easy, thanks to the aerial servant. 30 damage, yeah. Loves me some aerial servants, man. Alright, and now comes the Pit Fiend. Gigantic claw reaches out and grips the edge of the portal. Alright, so we need to get out of there. And hopefully we can deliver enough damage before it can do anything. It did cast Remove Magic at us, but it wasn't too effective. Senashira still has her mirror images. Right, cool. And now our reward. You are doing well, Senashira. So yeah, now we have the suit of armor, which is a plate mail +3, called the Doom Plate. And now finally we have 1 suit of armor for our party. Can you identify that? Yes, you can. So armor class 0. For this part in the game, that's just fantastic, considering we don't have any equipment. Right, and since our buffs are still going, still we have our aerial servant, I think we're going to go and dispose of the group of Yuan-Ti, which you can totally just never aggro here. By the way, this section here, there's a kind of a trap that just crushes you and it cannot be disarmed. So just saying, we're never going to take this hallway. But anyway, here's a kind of a smaller Yuan-Ti group with, I think, 1 Yuan-Ti mage. Whereas down here, where we're going to have to progress eventually, there's a bigger group, which consists of, I think, 3 of these Yuan-Ti mages, which I'm not looking forward to fighting in this state. But I think before we end the episode, let's just have a little bit more action. And here I think we're going to use Edwin's spells, the level 5 ones. And I'm kind of thinking whether I should pre-buff the chaotic commands already. Well, at least let's pre-buff Senashira at that. Alright, and Senashira, she only has 2 spell immunities, which we have to spread out just right. I think we also need some stone skins on her. And we need to kind of spread out a little bit. I want to pull the group of Yuan-Ti into this choke point and see what we can do there. Let's just kind of spread out a little bit and be ready.
Yes, this will not take long.
I think I'm not going to use the spell immunity just yet. Alright, so here's the Yuan-Ti mage. It has minor spell turning, minor globe, haste, both fire shields. Yeah, so insect plague will not do anything against these Yuan-Ti mages unless we dispel them first. And for that purpose, we have that spell sequencer with triple remove magic, but that's going to be used later. First, let's prepare some remove magic here with Edwin, and hopefully we can cast it over there, and it should hit, hopefully just right. Yuan-Ti mage was hit that, but we don't know if it was effective or not.
What is it? Time to move? Speed, certainly.
Okay, it wasn't effective. So we need to throw in another one with Senashira. We'll see if that is going to be effective.
Yes? What is it?
Right, unfortunately the Yuan-Ti mage kind of got stuck on that corner, I guess. Moved the other way.
Speed.
Although he is casting.
Will be done.
Right, he cast a sword. Well, unfortunately he was not affected, so we're going to have to do this the old-fashioned way. Let's cast a spell thrust, and let's prepare Edwin here to breach him. Alright, and that is going to get us exactly the selection of spells we want for our projected images.
So much for that complete.
Right, boom, and let's go. Okay, that was just a remove magic. He had a contingency with Stone Skin, and actually the
Speed.
hostile creatures can get killed by this trap as well, so if he retreats too much. Or if we get... this is really dangerous fighting in here, actually. That's why I wanted to fight over there. Because if we get under the effects of chaos, for example, and we wander in to this trap, you know, that's... Okay, that was just Greater Malison. Jeez. We can get destroyed by that trap.
Yes?
Okay, this is just a necromancy spell.
Without doubt.
Our haste expired, which makes things a little bit more difficult. Alright, and now we have some summons, the Skeleton Warrior and Magical Sword. I would like to keep this death spell on Edwin. And I think we are going to do that. We're just going to deal with the sword by casting some magic missiles. We can spare some. And we're just going to
What would you like?
kill that Skeleton Warrior
Point the sword.
with our weapons.
I shall strike.
I'm busy, okay? I'm busy.
I think we're going to use another magic missile strike with Imoen. I'm going to remove Edwin from the picture.
Quickly and precisely.
Alright, cool.
What is it?
So yeah,
Without hesitation.
some this fight could have ended pretty badly while we were fighting this Yuan-Ti mage over there. If that was a chaos instead of a Greater Malison that we weren't able to interrupt, I was banking on us being able to interrupt, and I actually had Edwin around the corner, so he couldn't use magic missiles in time. That was a mistake on my part, but anyway, we got through it. And I think that's going to happen in the next episode, but we're going to have some more fights ahead of us. Our aerial servant is still with us, barely injured. And yeah, we're going to summon a projected image, I think, with Edwin, and probably start out with a bang with this really difficult fight that's over there once we step into that passage. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.